Hello, everybody. I'm Dmae Roberts, executive producer of Media Rites, and welcome to this premiere of the second film of the ISM Film Project. It's a project that addresses the intersections of race, gender, orientation, and national origin. And we were going to tour our series of theater pieces around Oregon when everything shut down due to COVID-19. So we adapted the pieces into creative films, and the writers adapted their monologues into film scripts and that could be safely produced. And so today we're featuring the diversity thing, and we're going to talk to Bonnie Ratner, who is a writer, producer, director, and actor. And her recent plays include Blind, Hazardous Beauty, My Walk Has Never Been Average. And that was with our next guest, Roberta Hunte. And Roberta Hunte is a professor in the PSU School of Social Work and affiliate faculty in Black Studies, Women and Gender and Sexuality Studies. And we're going to find out how they work together on this script and also the full length play based on Roberta's dissertation. We also have actor Shelley, who has probably worked on pretty much every single Portland theater stage, we'll find out, in many, many productions. And she performed the role of Vonnie Harris in the stage production and the touring production of Here on This Bridge, the ISM Project. Also with us is Isis Harris, a board member of Oregon Tradeswomen, and Isis is a ninth term electrical apprentice in a 10-term, 5-year apprenticeship. And she graduated from Constructing Hope and served a 3-year term as the vice president of the Electrical Workers Minority Caucus of IBEW Local 48. And we're so happy to have Isis join us. And moderating this discussion is Damaris Webb, teacher, teaching artist, theater maker, also the co-director of Vanport Mosaic, a memory activism platform, which I believe is having another festival this May. So maybe we'll hear about that. We're going to watch the film first, and it's short. It's about 14 minutes. We're going to be in conversation after viewing it. It's the diversity thing. So please stay with us for this conversation afterwards. And now, the diversity thing.
Hey, don't worry, I won't get too close. I'm going home after this. But I can't help wondering what I'm taking home with me. On my hands, sharing all them nasty tools. On my body, from sharing them nasty bathrooms. And I hate this thing.
Well, just let us know when you're ready.
I've never been interviewed before. It feels like a star. But hey, don't get me wrong. We didn't have masks on the job for a long time, so I'm grateful. But who the hell knows who handled it before I stuck it over my mouth? We're supposed to be necessary.
Would you say your name and tell us what you do?
Oh, Vonnie Harris, utility worker.
What's it been like for you working during this pandemic?
Well, before COVID, there was a worker shortage. And then when COVID hit, we, slowed down a little bit, but we're going full blast right now and getting sick from each other on the job every day. We're not necessary. We are expendable, disposable.
What's it been like with management?
So my supervisor got sick with the virus. And I hate to put it this way, but maybe now he'll be a little more human, you know, a little less macho. No, really. When my friend got sick, he's the one who told her that she had to keep coming to work. I got so mad. So now I'm a troublemaker. See, once you get labeled a troublemaker, it doesn't matter what you're standing up for. You're just gonna catch a whole bunch of crap, which I've done before. I've been there, done that. You know, most of the supervisors are men. You know, it might be different if, look, I grew up in the world believing that I could be a strong woman. That's how my family taught me. I thought all you had to do was work hard and the world would cheer you on for it. I learned to operate small machinery at a logging company, moved up to heavy equipment. I was building my skills. I moved up, saw my pay scale increase, and then I got my first hard lesson in what it's like to be a Black woman on the job. I got hired on at the utility company. And the EEO person is like, equal employment opportunity. She says, "Oh, it'll be so good to have a woman on the team. We really want some diversity." Diversity? What is that? This is the first time I'd ever heard the word. So I tell her, "I'm a good worker." "Oh, I'm sure you are." "No, a really hard worker. I catch on quick to what I don't already know. I'm an awesome heavy equipment operator. I will be ready on the..." "Of course, and it'll be great to have a woman on the team. We really need to get some more diversity." And I think, is she saying, I'm here because I'm a woman and because I'm Black, not because I'm a good operator? And then another thought. This one surprises me because it's new. There are limitations to what I can and cannot do because of who I am. And I hate that thought. I immediately replace that one with others. This woman should have known better. She should have wanted all of us to succeed. You know that whole diversity thing? You can kiss my ass.
Do you still feel that way about why you were hired?
Truth? 20 years later, I still got that inside voice thing going on. You're here because you're Black, you're here because you're a woman. That's the only reason you got the job. But I've learned to speak back to that voice in ways that keep me out of trouble, mostly.
And now, are things going pretty well with the guys?
The guys? Let me tell you, if you are in their minds less than them, they are cool. But if you in their minds are in a position that is above them or equal to them, then you are a threat. So when I came to the shop, I was in their minds in a lesser position, so we got along great. But then the manager changed my job title, even though I asked him not to, and I got a pay increase. Now, the manager was trying to do the right thing because I was doing the same work as these guys for less pay. But I knew it was gonna be a problem. And I told him I was willing to wait until we could figure out how to work it out. But he ignored me. So sure enough, 2 guys got so pissed they filed a grievance with the union. The grievance didn't hold up, but these 2 proceeded to speak to me only when absolutely necessary to get the job done.
How do you feel about all this?
I just kept doing my work, and eventually things calmed down, but not for long. Once this guy comes along, seems nice. No, he was really a sexual predator. He was the sickest crudest fool I had ever met in my life. I said, dude, look, I'm gonna need you to stop talking like that around me. Pissed him off. He goes and recruits another one, and the two of them proceeded to make my life a living hell. So we go to the supervisor, right? Now, I don't want to talk about the diversity or the harassment because that's a little risky. We call it a personality conflict. We get back to the workplace, he turns the rest of the crew against me. So here we are, small crew, working 10-hour shifts, and no one will talk to me. But because we didn't tell the truth of the matter in the first place, called it personality conflict, the supervisor tells us, you two just need to get along. Do some team building. This is I wanted to say, don't you say a diverse nothing.
So what happened?
Nothing happened. Nothing at all. Things just got worse and worse for a year or more. I finally decided to tell the other women just how crude this guy was. And damn if one of them women did not go to human resources, break the code of silence. I'd take the heat for everything. Because see, if you tell on somebody, then you get labeled a troublemaker. And you get more heat than you already had. So I am still in the same situation with the pervert, but the whole job situation is completely screwed. But I'm a survivor. I have a deep intuition. Now, intuition is only gonna get you so far, but I back mine up with a personal code, integrity, speaking my mind, being who I am. These are my tools. And you're gonna need all the tools you can get if you are the only Black woman out of 500 employees with all of the harassment and bullying that comes with that. Don't even get me started on what it's like to be a gay Black woman in a majority white man work environment. But let's just say it, what it's like to be a Black woman in this country. You named the killer. COVID, cops, gonna get us surer, faster, disproportionately. But I have a secret weapon. If I have a hard day at work, I call my partner before I go home. She runs me a bath, we have dinner. She's a teacher. She is working at home right now, online. She is so smart. She's taught me how people's attitudes about race and sex can impact me at my job. She's taught me to not see them as bad people, but to see them as people who have bad learning. And then there's the back rubs.
It must be hard going home after work now.
My partner is diabetic. And here I am, a friggin' virus, friggin' factory coming home. I can feel him jumping on me. I can feel him jumping off of me straight onto her. It drives me nuts. At first, I tried wearing the mask in the house, but we couldn't make it work, you know? So now the mask goes in the laundry, I go in the shower. The rest, it's all I can do. I need this job. We need this job. You know, $50 is only good when it's coming in. Bills don't stop. just because you get sick. Bills don't stop just because half of the people dead from COVID look like you. Mm-mm. Money coming in, you take the job, right? I remember in 2008 sitting in that hall waiting on that job that would never come. I know what it's like. But we are still the last ones hired and the first ones fired. Diversity, some bull. I'm going home to my girl.
Thank you for all your hard work.
You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. We're back. I just want to reintroduce everybody and let you know that Media Rites has been adapting and transforming the monologues from the ISM project into short films. And the diversity thing was filmed with a crew of 4, social distancing and with face coverings at Shaking the Tree Studios, as well as Shelley B. Shelley's home. And both graciously donated their spaces to us. It was quite a journey, I can assure you. We also want to thank Oregon Humanities for providing support for this talk. I want to reintroduce our moderator, Damaris Webb, the co-director of Vanport Mosaic, writers Bonnie Ratner and Professor Roberta Hunte, actor Shelley B. Shelley, and Isis Hunter, board member of Oregon Tradeswomen.
Welcome again, everyone. I am so impressed with, I had the great good fortune years ago to meet this script, and I have seen some of the adaptations into the ISM project and now this film version. So first of all, I just want to say congratulations and what good work to everyone who's involved, and how grateful we all are, I'm sure, to hear these stories. And we're so glad that Isis can be with us today, whose real life this is mirroring somewhat. So first, we'll start at the beginning. Roberta, I'd really love to know a little bit more about how you arrived at this idea for a dissertation, or what happened with your dissertation to move into the collaboration with Bonnie to write this as a script.
Well, I was working for Oregon Tradeswomen, helping women get into construction in about 2008, and I, we were working with, we were really, trying to help women get in, and I was noticing that, if you get into the trades, that's awesome, but it's really like, can you get a pension? Can you stay in the trades long enough to reap the benefits? And so I was interested in talking with Black women about, who had been in the trades for 6 to 30 plus years, about their experiences and how they negotiated the realities of racism and sexism that have kind of kept the percentage of women to, I think, about 3 to 5% of the construction workforce nationally, and Black women our percentage is significantly smaller. And so we decided to, the COVID life, right? If it's not your animals, it's your children. And so we decided, so I that's how I did my dissertation. And then I was friendly with Bonnie, and it was asking Bonnie to like help me edit my stuff. And Bonnie was like, this should be on the stage. Let's turn this into something. And I thought, oh, okay, sure. I like Bonnie. And it was definitely one of my smartest yeses, I would say.
That's great. One of the smartest yeses. Yeah. And Bonnie, let's hear from you too about how, like, you know, your vision of seeing and, you know, receiving these stories, and then the idea of how it can be moved to the stage. And I know you've been involved in a few scripts that have come from true stories into adaptations for the stage. Can you share with us some of your reflections on how that goes and how this one in particular went?
Sure. Well, first I want to say that Roberta had done an amazing job at writing up the interviews that she did with 15 tradeswomen. And so, and they literally, the stories just jumped off the page. The original source material is magnificent. You know, I think that's the main reason it's had these legs after all these years, even though we have twisted it and made composites and so forth and so on. And Roberta has always gone back to the original sources in terms of women and made sure that we weren't doing anything that while dramatizing their stories or making composites out of their stories in any way was disrespectful to their stories. And so I'm proud to be a part of that. But my first task, I thought, was in making composites. From the 15, we went to 6 to create a theatrical piece. And that's what we did. And once I had the first draft, then we brought Roberta in, and then Kate Duffley was also involved as the first director. So the 3 of us worked on making sure that this was a piece. And we also had in the beginning 2 storytellers. I think, Damaris, that you played one of the storytellers at one point. So our first production was at Portland Playhouse. It wasn't part of their season. It was a special performance there. We did Portland Playhouse. We were at Self-Enhancement Inc. The Red Door Project sponsored that. And we were at Alberta Rose Theater. And that was for the annual convention, 2015, Roberta? 2015, I think. 14 or 15?
14.
14. For the annual convention of Oregon Tradeswomen, Inc. So, and that was so exciting to play for that audience. It just, you know, it was, they clapped like the moment that the first woman walked on stage. They were like, yay, you know, this is us on the stage. And I just want to say this a little bit about Portland history. And I moved into Portland in 2010. At that time, I know Passon Art was doing Black theater, and then Portland Playhouse had started to do August Wilson plays. And then Red Door Project was formed in 2012. But I think that like we were one of the first pieces to feature an all Black cast in a Black themed play and an all female Black cast. And it was like sort of right at the beginning when monologues were starting to be popular as well. So it's kind of fun to see that it's had legs. When we received notice that Media Rites was doing the ISM project, then we adapted it again for this piece. And we were on stage and then working with Dmae to help adapt the film as a film. So I think you asked me to compare it to other things that I've done. And I would say I work so closely with Roberta, you know, collaborating, that it wasn't like taking it from, wasn't like taking, like I've written a film script on Ann Richards. I did interviews, but that's really taking it from books and then interviews with people. but this was such a wonderful collaboration because Roberta and I just worked so well together that the material stayed alive. It was really exciting. Yeah.
And just to follow up with that, Roberta, how long did it take you to do those series of interviews with the, I'm sorry, was it 16 participants?
15. It was 15 women who'd been in the trades for 6 to 30 plus years. And they were all over the country, the Pacific Northwest and other places. And it took me about a year and a half to, because I would interview them and then I would edit it and then I would go back. And so they were really giving a lot of feedback on their stories and how their stories were told. And I think with doing the theater piece, it was like they would see elements of themselves reflected, but they weren't their stories in the same way as in the dissertation. But we really tried to keep thematically connected with what people said the experience was like. And then for this piece, we did talk to some tradeswomen about what was happening on the job in relation to COVID. And so I do want to hear from Isis in terms of like, did we get it right, or what would, I would love to just hear from Isis.
Yeah, that's an excellent segue. I would like to hear from Isis too. Whatever springs to your mind that you want to speak in response to this experience of seeing the piece, and then also just your experience of being part of this project in the ways that you have been.
I think that it was really realistic as far as what's going on the job sites, even how the table was set up with the water, the mask, the sanitizer. That's basically the break room, what you'll see in the break room. I think that the fears are very relevant, and the fact that there are outbreaks on the job site are very relevant. The two companies that I've worked for this year, both of them have had COVID outbreaks on the job. And they haven't been handled very well. It's a scary thing because of the fact that a lot of the times you're finding out after the fact that somebody was infected with the virus and that they're already on their like 2 weeks sabbatical versus being told as soon as. Um, it's scary for me because I have pre-existing conditions and then I have a 2-year-old son, so it's one of those things like as soon as I get to the work site, before I even walk in, I'm putting on my mask and I'm wearing it all day. But I have problems breathing sometimes, so I hate my mask too, Shelley. So it is very challenging. It's challenging mentally and emotionally because of the fact that I have to be there. I have to earn money in order to live and to take care of my child. And I wanted to furlough earlier on in order to just stay home and wait for things to die down. But because of having taken off for maternity leave, I couldn't do that because my unemployment was like $200 a week. So it wasn't an option. It was pretty much more of a forced thing of having to work at that time in order to take care of me and my family. So um, it's a very scary time right now. You'll go to work and there'll be people without their mask on. It might not be with our actual company, but there's so many different trades that you'll work with on one site, and they don't have that same, I guess, sense of urgency about the 6 foot distancing and just doing the right thing and wearing your mask with so many people around. So um, it's just it's being very diligent about your own personal standards as far as keeping others safe, keeping yourself safe. Washing your hands frequently. My hands are so dry. My hands are so dry, but it is. It's really a lot of times the accommodations aren't set up for you to have 6 foot distancing in break rooms. So a lot of people sometimes will eat outside, but even in that, we'll have the 6 feet distancing where we'll have some distancing, but now we're mask off in a closed environment. So it's I guess during the colder months it's more of an issue versus the hotter, because during the hotter months you can go outside and have lunch in a free air versus being in a trailer with maybe 5, 6 other people. But I was on a job site. It was a small crew, and I had to be out because of my health issues. And once it was time for me to come back to work the day before I was supposed to return to work, my foreman texted me and told me not only was he out with COVID, but there was another guy out with COVID. And my question was, okay, so who at the site, who all is quarantining? Because if 2 people on the site have been diagnosed and we only have a team of like maybe 9, I believe it was. What about everybody else? Has anybody else went to go get tested or anything like that? And it was just like, no, they were just still working. And because of the fact that, people can have it and not exhibit symptoms, I told them, I said, I can't go to work until I have to wait until this blows over. And it was financially, it's financially taxing. But when it comes to my health, I can't play around with that. I mean, already just going to work is taking a risk, but going to work knowing that people were diagnosed and they're just still working. And I don't want to be the person that's, kind of stressing other people out, I guess, about safety measures. But the fact is that it can be taken more seriously on job sites. The current company I'm working with, as far as I know, nobody has been diagnosed with our company. But with the general contractor, they've had 3 people already, and they're office staff, from what I know. But they try to make it seem like these office staff aren't having contact with anybody else, and that's impossible. Like, you're not coming to work and just like quarantining in your office trailer. There's people coming in, getting paperwork, you're going to meetings, things of that nature. So, and then we're all using the same porta potties and the tools, and I mean, it just goes on and on. And you on your way to break, and you're going to break, and you're seeing people there passing by the hand washing station, and it's right there. It's nice warm hot water, soap, and they're going right in the break room and going to chow down. And it's I don't know. It gets disturbing. But again, I have to work. Right now, so I have to be there, and I'm trying to finish this apprenticeship. So there's that additional pressure. But I think that the video really hit on a lot of accuracies, not only just surrounding COVID, but just the whole gamut. It's working in the construction industry as a Black woman does mean a lot of times you are somewhat ostracized to a certain extent. And I don't know if it's because of, because I try to put a positive spin on things. I'm like, well, maybe they just don't know how to talk to me, like maybe they just don't know how to approach me. So therefore they don't start a lot of conversations or whatever the case may be. So I try not to make it seem that they don't want to talk to me. But at the same time, you'll come across these crews that are great. Everybody's interactive, everybody's cool. But then there's some people you can't be cool with because then they push that line, there's been job sites where I've been on, and, they'll do the after work drinking. They'll have like a brotherhood night is what they call it. And you'll go hang out with the guys, trying to kind of like, I guess, get your groove with, kind of your friendship cemented or whatever on the work site. But then it's like after that, now they feel familiar and too familiar. And now it's, hand me that, sweetheart. And then you're like, wait a minute, you're not calling anybody else from brotherhood night, sweetheart. Like it's one of those situations where it's almost like I kind of have to keep a bubble, not only just for my physical safety due to the virus, but also just my emotional well-being on the work site. Hey, we're having a call right now. Here, let's play with that over here, okay? Okay.
To I can just to imagine how to hold those boundaries, or as you said, the bubbles, and it just like keeps resonating back and forth on all those levels. And I had really appreciated what Roberta had pointed to about, yes, getting the job, but then being able to stay through to get your pension.
Right.
Yeah.
Retention, I believe, is definitely an issue. I mean, I don't oftentimes see, especially in my field, I don't oftentimes see other Black people, women or men. And in other trades is very rare as well. On the site where I'm at right now, there is me and 2 Black men, and that's on the whole site. Hey,
Wow. Yeah.
here.
And Shelley, I wonder about like talking about retention or like institutional memory on this project. At least, Shelley, you've been around from the very beginning, and I wonder if you might talk to us a little bit both about receiving Isis's comments about what resonated with her, and then also for you to reflect on how adapting the composite stories, right, from 15 to 6, and then this diversity thing is one of those. Yeah. So just to reflect on all of that.
Well, I think first, when Bonnie was talking about the tradeswomen's conference that we performed for, and every one of us who walked out on that stage, they cheered because I got the feeling that that was the first time they had ever seen themselves represented. And as an actor, that's my goal, is to give voice to people who are maybe not being heard, or not being heard the way that they need to be heard, or in the venue that they need to be heard. So, it's humbling and gratifying to be able to do that. But before I say anything else, I would be remiss if I don't mention there was a show before this one that was all Black women that was performed at IFCC, written by Don Wilson Glenn, Voices from the Kitchen, American Jesus Christ. So I have to shout out to Don and also to Passion Art for presenting that, because I got to be part of that. That's how come I know. But it wasn't as large. The cast was not as large. So you had that one, Bonnie, until Portland Center Stage did Mean Girls, right? With an entire cast. I think it was like 8, 10 African-American women. It was overwhelming. I needed to see it twice just to see it, because first time I'm just looking. But so back here, I think, and again, it's giving voice. Before 100% immersing myself in my craft as an actor, I come out of human resources, and diversity was my strong suit. I've been a diversity trainer. I wrote the diversity plan or the affirmative action plan for City County Affirmative Action Office, working with Robert Phillips. So not only doing the recruiting, but helping recruiters identify, especially women of color, for positions that are traditionally not filled by women of color. And seeing the resistance internally, the excuses of why, the good faith efforts kind of is kind of what drove me away. It's like, how long can you practice the same effort before you're held accountable? And so there's this something. I mean, I can remember being involved with Connie Ashbrook and the Women in Trades, and amazing woman who drove it, and that organization giving voice and being able to see some of those women showing up. So I guess for me, it's combined using the art to make the statement, to make it's my protest. It's my protest against injustice, whether it's against women of color, LGBTQ,
people of color. It doesn't matter to me. I am a protester, and so I use my voice to protest, and it gives me honor to be able to know when I'm standing waiting to come out and perform, that what I'm getting ready to say is going to make a difference. You know, I mean, and I love just theater for the sake of theater. I mean, it's always amazing and fun. Um, but this production is beyond fun. This production is truly about the isms that we face every day. And those isms especially in the Black community, those isms are directly related to the diagnosis of post-traumatic slave disorder. So we are still living under, for me, it's like a modified Jim Crow, and you know, Jimmy Bob Crow, whatever, little Jimmy, but he's very strong, and it's keeping women, especially women of color, out of an industry. And again, we have children, we have responsibilities, we have, we have dreams and hopes. We want to retire. We want to be able to do the same things that our male counterparts and our white male counterparts are able to do. We are absolutely capable. And we're still not getting all the opportunities. And so until that happens, this has to continue. We have to continue to raise up the voices of our tradeswomen. We have to continue to let it be known that there are disparities. There are, we're not being treated fairly. And then we have to also honor our tradeswomen who stay the course, because a lot of people say, I can't, I won't, I'm done. They walk away. But some people will stay the course, and those who stay, we need to support them. We need to commend them. We need to, celebrate that, because that takes a lot. My dear, thank you for staying the course, because it takes a lot. I mean, you've got this child at home, like you said, and I can only hope that my performance does your real life story justice, because I could hear, the angst. In my character is talking about going home to her partner, but your baby is your partner too, and it's like, what am I bringing home? And what do you mean come back to work? What do you mean two people have COVID? It's like, so I get it, and we just have to keep telling your story and elevating you, supporting you, keeping you safe, and creating more and more opportunities for other women, but also opportunities that you don't just stay in that one spot. We need leads, we need foremen, we need general managers who look like you. And so as long as I've got a voice and can remember some lines and Bonnie writes them, yes, I will speak them, and hopefully use my voice to do an artistic protest.
Wonderful pointing at that little list of ways to support. And Isis, I wonder if there are any calls or recommendations that you would like to state about how the general public can be either directly supportive or even just more aware of tradeswomen in the union, especially those of us of color.
As far as the general public, I'm not really sure how to go about advising them to be aware, other than supporting career apprenticeship efforts from not only like Oregon Tradeswomen, but also from Constructing Hope, which has a they cater to I guess people of color, people with criminal justice backgrounds, veterans, a lot of more, I guess, a more urban demographic. But as far as within the construction industry, there is there has to be training. There has to be training that's implemented at the higher level, because speaking to the people who are in the field about discrimination and racial biases, sexism, things of that nature. It's good if it's white men in the room, because I mean a lot of times that's where it's coming from. I think that there's also it's kind of overlooked sometimes about the what you can get from white women sometimes in the field. Um, Sometimes white women are the more dismissive of the two, and I don't think that that's been touched on a lot. Um, you think you're on a work site and you see another woman and you're like, whoa, okay, hey, how you doing, and it's just kind of like um, avoiding eye contact. You start you're walking towards each other and that person abruptly either turns around or goes another direction. Just a It's weird. So I think that there needs to be more training at the top level so that it can trickle down, and that can be something that changes the construction culture all the way around. But also, just more. I guess more training was more intent to change. Like there's videos that they show us that are dated. I mean, these are maybe made in the 90s or early 2000s, and they have this like comedic edge to them, to where they want people to watch them or whatever, and maybe get the message because there was a joke here, or this character is just so outlandish or whatever whatnot. So you don't really relate to the people in the video because they don't really have substance. They need to do training that has substance and that is more directed and more intense, basically, to really hit harder and more interactive. Because right now it's like this cookie cutter type of situation, especially like for apprentices that are turning out, that it doesn't really speak to what's going on out in the field. So I think that more support of pre-apprenticeship will turn out people ready to go into the trades that are more educated and more well-rounded. And then once they get into the apprenticeships and getting their training during their apprenticeship, that those apprenticeship programs are more intent on actually changing the culture of construction to make it a more hospitable place for everyone, something that is more inclusive and equitable across the board, then it will be able to change. But just talking to the tradespeople, especially like journeymen. I mean, I think a lot of them are somewhat stuck in their ways, somewhat, but it just has to have more intention behind it, because right now it's just kind of hitting the surface and not really digging deep.
Yeah, just to hear you point to equity in this area, like what a basic foundation, and then maybe this is an excellent opportunity for some of these ism monologues to be a thing to spark conversation and training. Shelley, you had your finger raised.
I did. As a protester, so I am one who will be at the front of a line with a megaphone. I'm one who will be at the back of the line, keeping it going, or in the middle. But there's such a thing as an individual protest. And so one of the things that I have done more than a half a dozen times is when I am, especially in my community where I vote and pay taxes, when I see a construction site and there is nobody on that site who looks like me, I call the city of Beaverton, because that's who gave the contract. You see, I don't care who the company is. I call the city of Beaverton and I want to know, why are there no people on that site who look like me? Explain it. Because having been a diversity outreach contractor for Hoffman Construction, Anderson Construction, Siemens, I know that they have requirements, and the good faith effort, sometimes they slide by and no one is checking or monitoring. But as a citizen and a tax-paying citizen, I have the right to check and monitor. Pick up the telephone, call your municipality, call the mayor's office, call whoever is allocating the bids. If you need to, call the DOJ. When you see not DOJ, but DOT, Department of Transportation, call Washington. There's such a thing as the, what's it called? Oh gosh, it's gone, but compliance, contract compliance. And so when you see sites like that where they are not meeting compliance, those contracts will get pulled, no question. So we need to, use our voices. Don't go home mad, go home. Don't even go home, take a picture, click, call from the phone at the light. I'm gonna send you a picture of the site. Please help me understand why everybody on the site is a white male. Really? You couldn't find one person? I mean, so again, we have to do that. We can do it for each other. ISIS doesn't always have to fight her own battle on the site. I could pick up the phone. If I know ISIS is getting in trouble or having trouble, not getting in trouble, but having trouble and, things aren't being handled correctly, we can pick up the phone. Hello, because there's compliance, there's accountability. And so we can effectively hold people accountable, especially when there's public sector dollars involved.
Right on, right on. Thanks for that. In our last, about 5 minutes, and I love that there's a call to action that any one of us can take. So that's fabulous. And in this last about 5 minutes, I saw Roberta had her finger pointed. If there's anything that, Roberta, and also from the two playwrights that you wanted to bring to our attention.
I remember in early conversations how we talked about this, Roberta, and you said it often, this is an economic justice issue. Because these are good paying jobs. And now that the issue is really at the forefront even more. I cut my teeth on social justice in California and in community development from a public health perspective, very aware of social determinants of health. Heard nothing about that when I moved here. Now with COVID, that's what we're understanding. This is all about social determinants of health. And these are good paying jobs for women and good paying jobs for women of color. And I think that people can maybe think about it a little more. It's more accessible now because of this unfortunate moment. So just make that connection as well. That's one of the reasons why there's so much competition, because there are just so many jobs and they're good paying jobs.
Isis, do you know if you fit in one of the vaccine categories yet? Are you able to get the vaccine?
I don't currently fit into the category. Right now, we're considered essential workers, but I guess we're a little lower down on the list. Hopefully it's coming soon, but yeah, we're still waiting for that.
I have a cousin who works for the post office, and that's not, even though they're an essential worker, they're not eligible for the vaccine.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not certain. I think teachers are just starting to get it. As far as I know, I know there's a guy on the site whose wife is a teacher, and she just got hers. So hopefully hopefully it's coming up on it, but I'm not sure when it'll happen.
Well, I think we are at about time for our time together. This has been really my great experience. This has been eye-opening. This has been inspiring. This has been a pleasure all at the same time. So thank you all. Look at these rock star women right here. Right on. Thank you for sharing your time with us today.
This is so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your engagement here. Great.
And I'll turn it back over to Dmae.
Oh, I think Isis had another comment though. She had her finger up. Did you want to say something else?
It was just about what others could do in order to help with the construction culture. I've gone into schools and correctional institutions and try to get out the word. So people that are in positions to maybe even provide their space for hosting events to get out the word as far as like job fairs or just having maybe a couple construction workers come in and talk about the trades to the youth, to whatever the demographic is in that room. I've gone like alternative schools or correctional facilities, the unemployment office, just maybe being a little bit more open to providing that information to others because I never got that information when I was young. And so I tried to go back to the different places where I was as, coming up through the ages to make sure that the people that are in those places get that information. So I guess that's just one other way to kind of get out and kind of support. So information that others that you find out about the construction industry, share it. Share it on your social media platforms. If you know about different initiatives, share it on your, with your network and make sure that the information gets out there and that there's not just a closed cluster of individuals that have that information and do what they will with it. So I guess just building those networks if you don't have them, or just being open to being a little bit more involved. But that's what I try to do, is try to just use my own experience and go in and share that with people to let them know that it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your sex, your color, any of that. You can get into the trades and do it. But mainly it has been um, trying to reach out to women and let them know that it's a possibility because there's so few on work sites. But
Well, I want to thank you all. There's some important info here. I am dismayed that the Oregon tradeswomen and mail carriers and also grocery workers are not getting the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. So I just want to put a plug in here, write the governor so we can protect our essential workers. That's so important. I also want to note that this is Women's History Month, and it's been powerful to have this enlightening talk with 5 remarkable women. Thank you to Damaris Webb of Vanport Mosaic, writers Bonnie Ratner and Roberta Hunte, actor Shelley B. Shelley, who I also want to mention is a board member of Media Rites, and Isis Harris, tradeswoman, and board member of Oregon Tradeswomen. Thank you all for taking the time today to have this talk. It's so informative. Thank you all. We also want to thank the funders, but with a special thank you to Oregon Humanities for providing this forum to discuss these issues for the ISM project. Media Rites is premiering one more film about women of color for this Women's History Month. Join us for Being Me in the Current America on March 28th at 2 p.m., written by Josie Seed and performed by Shireen Jacobs. You can also see the film Rega por Me by Yasmin Ruvalcaba and performed by Yolanda Porter, and the talkback that we had with Cristina Delgado of Adelante Mujeres, the Immigrant Solidarity Project, their project there. All these films will be on Facebook and YouTube through April. Find out more about watching these films and hearing these enlightening discussions at MediaRites.org. I'm Dmae Roberts, executive producer of Media Rites. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you all for joining us today.